Welcome everyone to our first podcast edition of Finance and Foundations with myself, Chris Britto, part of the Bridgemore Capital team. Today we're going to keep it quite light and just talk about how we got to bring Bridgemore Capital to life and our personal journeys in the property industry. So without further ado, Joseph Eden.
My name's Joe Eden. I've been in the property industry for nearly 15 years now, and my career has covered many things, including development, mortgages, sourcing, and then now helping developers raise funds for their property projects.
Nice. Thank you. So I'm Raz. I've been with Bridgemore now for, about over a year? My property journey started around, I'd say, 10 years ago now. So I've done everything from working with developers selling their projects off-plan for one of the biggest master agents in UK and Dubai. I then did a little bit of a stint in prime central London, just because of my network. So that was quite fun. And then naturally, I just feel like investors and developers, it's always been in my core. So it brought me back to the finance world. So a full circle there.
Nice. I actually think it's your anniversary on the 1st of July.
Is it?
Yeah, which is next Tuesday.
Is that drinks, cakes,
How weird. We've actually been trying to organise a time where everyone can do, drinks. But you're in Ibiza.
No, not next week. Week after. But anyway, back to the introductions, slightly off piece.
We'll plan the party afterwards.
Okay. My name's Chris Britto. So my journey in the property industry has probably stemmed for the last 10 years. Similar to Raz, actually, worked very heavily in the off-plan and completed investment property sales world, which including sourcing a variety of opportunities through different developers and other estate agencies and auction firms, and selling a variety of developers off-plan property investment projects to UK and overseas investors. So, it's quite good that, the three of us, as well as other members of the team, have got fantastic backgrounds in property, and that's allowed us to have very, very strong networks.
How do you feel my background's different to you guys? Mine's come from estate agency, so resi buyers, where you've come from the investment side. How do you, in my experience, understanding the simple buying process, even to as little as what a search is and how the buyers go through that process. How do you guys think that's led your career coming from the investment side into this world? Because mine was more resi based and yours is more investment. What about flipping it on its head? How do you feel?
I think your journey's more boring, to be honest.
It is more boring. Yeah, that's why I'm talking about you two, not me.
Well, no, exactly. So you've come from doing a long stint of doing homeowner mortgages, and I'm mentioning it actually allows you to bring other elements to the table about the customer journey and about the different elements, because it's homeowner mortgage is very different to a lot of what the short term and commercial term lending that we do.
I think what we do now is more business to business, whereas a lot of that journey is consumer, you're dealing with day-to-day people.
More emotional.
Which is more emotional, which is why I'm so emotional.
So what do you reckon it was that took you from, in Chris's words, the boring world of resi mortgages to now being a developer?
I think, so I started in a estate agency in Chelmsford, and then I left there in 2013 to go into the mortgage world. And then after being in that mortgage world, predominantly residential, I was so driven to try and do my first flip. So I'd done my first flip, didn't have a clue what I was doing. And then being open and honest, getting involved in a project on the side was quite fun. It's quite good. And then it just kind of leveled up from there. First flip, we see a lot of people in our industry trying to go from doing no projects to development. Yeah. And I've done the opposite. I've done my first flip was over 10 years ago, done a 2-bedroom flat, then went to a house, and then we'd done a few flips after that. And then we took ourselves to the northeast and then started to buy 2-bedroom houses, converting them into 3-beds, refurbing them, going and then building from there. So we'd done quite a lot. And then we'd done our HMO after all of that down in Portsmouth, and then went into development. But even going into that space, we still didn't go in on our own. We still joint ventured with a construction partner and all that kind of stuff. So get to the point of actually doing developments.
And along that journey, I know that you've been to quite a variety of, some maybe paid for, but property courses or a lot of seminars and stuff. What's your take on that? Because it's a very conflicted area within the property sector. Some feel like, you know, certain courses are, you know, a scam or just, you know, massively overpriced, and obviously people pay the money because they want to learn how to do the different types of routes to, whether it be commercial to resi, HMOs, flipping, refurbs, whatever.
It is an interesting world, education. I think the big issue is that everyone, including myself, is looking for was looking for that magic pill, and doesn't exist. So I don't mind saying the name, but Progressive, still around today, they do a lot of courses, and I went with a client to multiple streams of property income they used to do, which was a free course, and went to Peterborough for 2 days. And there was a lot of value in that, but it's very surface level. And I was one of them people that paid like $3,000 of money that didn't really have into a sourcing course, because they were like, we've got a list of investors, you go and source them. And I thought it's easy, but you go and find somewhere, you send it to them and they don't deliver. And that's kind of that, like, if you're relying on the courses to either just give you this magic pill that's going to turn you into a millionaire overnight, it's never going to happen. And if you're relying on them in terms of resources, it's quite hard. You've got to do a lot of hard work yourself. So I've done that on a sourcing course, and then I've had mentors over the years, and even the mentorship, like, there's a lot of people who have been a huge part of my life to help me grow and through the good and the bad, but they don't do the work for you. You've still got to deal with the downside. You still got to deal with
the work in.
Yeah.
And I think they will tell you that, right?
Yeah.
They always say you've got to put the work in to be able to get the outcomes that you want to go for.
Exactly. So like one of my mentors, Stuart, which we all know, he's probably been like one of the best mentors I've ever had in the industry. It's not been fast, but stuff that we do now is a lot of what he taught me, although it wasn't like strategy, is more psychology of raising money and all that kind of stuff. Like, that's so important, but people don't see that. Like, we speak to clients all the time and they want to get to the raising money bit first, but they're positioning it wrong. They're not going through the emotions. They're not going through it's usually, I've got an investor, I've met him down the pub, he's going to give me this much money and I've just got to go and find a deal. And you go and find the deal, and then miraculously the investor just disappears. Like, so I think that's what I learned. Like, just I don't even know what I learned, but like, there's so much subconscious, like so many subconscious moves that you got to make before you get to that point.
Into a course and they're like, oh yeah, that's taught me everything, or they just like you said, find an investor, they've got the money, they can run before they can walk. Basically,
what's your take on the courses? Do you think they're worthwhile?
I think it is one thing, like, you know, education, and I've come from, like, you know, a background in education. I've got a psychology degree, which does help. I'm not reading your minds or anything. Everyone always asks me.
Yeah, it makes me really uncomfortable.
Everyone
now.
twitches, and it's like, I promise you, I'm not reading your minds. I can't hack your brain or anything like that. But I think, like you said, it does help you kind of manoeuvre around situations, negotiations, or I guess egos and that sort of thing. But realistically, the whole courses thing, I'd say courses are great, education's great, but unless you're doing it, like, you have to do it. You have to, like, you can't just say, I'm going to run a marathon. Like, you have to train and do it. I mean, I've not ran one, but I'm not going to. So, but I think that's the thing, right? You have to do it.
Yeah. Because I think a lot of people have a lot of bad press about it because they don't do it.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think it's the implementation. People
Yeah.
want to be taught and handheld. As soon as the hand is released and they go out on their own and the buck falls with them, that's where, for me, it falls down and they stop.
And then stepping
There's no
back from
accountability
that as well. Like, I mean, we all want to almost have that kind of guidance, especially when, like, if you think about doing anything new, you want guidance. You want to be like, oh, maybe try this, like, maybe do this. You know, that's so important. I guess that's where the mentorship comes in. Yeah. But I'd safely say each one of us does that for our clients. It's exactly what we do.
Exactly, yeah.
Like, you know, they don't have to pay 10, 20 grand for a mentorship. They have a conversation with us, figure out kind of what they want to get from it, and we'll guide them through it.
I think you're right. Like, you know, clients come to us, say, you know, what do you think about this investment opportunity? Yeah. And it's all the basic things that they need to be doing, and we can do alongside them, which is comparables of done-up properties on the same road. Yeah. You know, are you buying it the current value? Is it below market value? Is it not below market value? Have you looked at the rents in the area? Yeah. It's all pretty standard stuff. Yeah. But like you say, unless someone has got the desire to go out there and do their research on looking at the comparables in the area and all the other jazz, then no one's going to move forward.
No, I agree. I think you're right. Like, I think you can go and pay for mentorship, which I don't think there's anything wrong with. I think it's really good, but you have to be aware, like, where you're at and what you're trying to get to, and then reassess, and then maybe not necessarily level up, because it sounds really rude to the people that have helped you get there. But if you're like, be aware of your strategy and where you're going, and then obviously, yeah, for our clients, we help clients a lot. But even when we're speaking to clients and trying to direct them, I'd still direct them to some good podcasts or some good. I think that's the thing that's changed. If you want to put the work in nowadays, you probably don't have to pay. There's so many books, so much digital information out there, podcasts, audiobooks, and you could probably do it yourself. But if you want the structure, like, I'm quite a bad learner. I'd rather sit there for a day and someone talk at me. Yeah. Well, I was saying that I've got better now because I listen to a lot of podcasts, like when I'm just in between, like driving and at the gym and stuff like that. But looking back at my kind of progress, that's probably why I done some of them courses, because I wanted someone to structure something out. And then, but looking back at it, instead of paying for more and using credit cards just to get to that point where you think this is going to change the world, should have just taken a little bit. Like, if you have done SA, rent to SA, sourcing, all these things, just go, who's doing that and who's doing rent to SA, and there's a book on it or a podcast on it, and just go deep there, and then take that and then try and implement some of them learnings rather than just trying to think that someone's going to change your world by spending money. But there's some mad statistic, like there's like a tipping point that if you spend a certain amount of money, the chances of you implementing that strategy or course or information is off the charts. So that's what some of these training.
Or high.
Like, if you were to spend like 100 quid in a course, it's 100 quid. You might, I'll just get round. I'll do that later. If you spent $5,000, you've got to make it work. Yeah. So that's why the trainers know that. It's the psychology behind it. And that's wrong, because some people just go there with the idea of, they think that spending that money is going to get them to that next level. But trainers are doing it because it's the psychology of like getting a buy-in early. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's just a weird. It's all psychology, isn't it? In that sense.
Going backwards, if you could go again, would you do a course?
No, not in this world.
No, because you feel there's enough material out there through podcasts, books, Instagram influencers, all these other stuff that can help you get the learns that you need.
Loads of people slag off Samuel Leeds. I'm not promoting him or saying he's good or bad, but I think if you was to do some free courses that exist in the world, I'm saying that because a lot of people know it, I think try that. Take out the free ones. Yeah, just do some free ones. And if you want to, if there's a hole that you can't find in the world in books, podcasts and stuff, then explore it. But I was quite lazy with it. I just think try not to be too lazy. Like, go and do the free ones, experiment, understand what your goals are. Like, you might go there and think, actually, I didn't realize that this strategy exists. Then go and try and find a book or a podcast on it and then explore that way. And that's probably what I'd do now. YouTube, podcast, like, there's loads out there, and just absorb it on the side rather than spending tens of thousands of pounds. But mentorship is another thing. I'd probably, like, looking back, I'd have probably tried to partner with someone on a business level rather than paying again. Like, if you'd done some course, like free courses, and explored some education on, I don't know, commercial conversions. You don't know how to do it, but you've got loads of time. A lot of people talk about, well, just go and partner with them people. Yeah. So go to someone who's doing commercial conversions and say, what do you need? And they might be really busy, so I need to find deals. Okay, well, if I find a deal, can I come on the journey with you? And so instead of paying for them, you're getting the experience and learning. That's probably what I'd do. It'd probably speed up the process.
Definitely. I think that's similar to, I guess, the way that I like to learn. So it's like, I'll figure out, so it's like, if I figure out, say, for example, somebody's really good at doing HMOs, or they're really good at doing flips, or like ground up development, just literally going out for a coffee with them, or like, have a meeting with them, or like sit down, just have a chat, like figure out from that person that's become successful off of that thing, like how they've got there, like, what's their journey, and almost like learn from that, as opposed to
people that have actually really done it, and that have got
that's where you get like the pitfalls and the downside, because I can guarantee like most of these like courses and things, it will probably be like, oh yeah, if you do this you can win this, like you can get this, and it's not always going to be right. If you start on this journey, things can go terribly wrong.
It's never that, actually. It's quit your job in 90 days and then you're on the beach.
absolutely work from like overseas and all of this, but I think that's really important.
I'm literally like, I have to do it. I have to do it. And then if I was really doing myself favours based on the person I am, I would have to also then logically write down every step, every single step that it goes through. So then I've got a methodical, as you know, methodical pattern to follow to get from here to here, all the bases covered and everything that you need to consider along the way, which people you need to bring in along the way, like accountants, solicitors, architects, whatever, planning consultants, all that stuff. But I need it completely drawn out for me.
Yeah, and that's it. That's what, the way that everybody works, their mindset and their I guess, like, how you kind of take in information and learn best is so different. But kind of adding to that, you can almost be like super methodical with everything. But the one big thing is, like, I guess clients need to know how to pivot. When something goes wrong, like, right, what's plan B? What's the next thing?
Yeah.
Like, I've had it recently as well with one of the refurbs that we're doing, and like the amount of times that I've told clients, like, make sure that your build costs are like spot on, like get 3 quotes, etc., etc. But nobody tells you when they take the ceiling boards off that there's going to be a massive hole in the ceiling and you're going to have to fork up like
or
another
asbestos.
20 grand, 40 grand for that. So at that point, you need to kind of know to pivot and come up with something else.
That brings me onto a pretty important point of the progression as well, because you're saying, I agree with everything you're both saying. You're saying go through, like, map it out, but you also don't know what you don't know. No, it is as simple as that, but it's not as simple as that if you go to do a 10-bed HMO and you've never done it before. Because you don't know what you don't know. So you don't know you might need an M&E consultant to help you with your M&E design. And then that's not costed. How much is that? It might only be £1,000. It's still £1,000 if you're tight already and you've got to. So that's why if you have a list, if you go through that process and you map out what you need to do, doing a simple flip, you're going to mess it up because it's still easy to mess up. Then you go through that, and then some of them questions will then bring you into that next strategy and level up that way. But I think that's one of the constant things that we kind of address with clients is try not to do too much too soon. I know it's boring to talk about, but because of that, you don't know what you don't know. And you're right, you need to have the list of everything you need to do. But if you don't know what's coming next and you've got a 200 grand refurb job or a 20 grand refurb job, if you go over 10% on the 200 grand refurb, that could be an issue. Whereas if you go over by £2,000, it's not as much of an issue.
And I know it's not as simple as that, because this then comes down to if you're going further afield with your projects and you need planning, every council has got a different way about doing things and different requirements in all the different areas, right? And you found that with some of the stuff that you've done.
We've made so many errors that we just didn't like. You get a bit excited, and we invested in the northeast, and we've done loads or fair amount up there. And then you go and invest in an area, and you think you've got everything covered. And we've literally had people break into a finished refurb property and rip up the pipes and take the boiler off the wall. And you don't plan for that. You just done a refurb, and you've got to do it again, just because you thought, I invest in that area. I know that's arguably stupid. You shouldn't go too far. So many people like to invest in their doorstep for them reasons, but that was just an element of, like, you've done well a couple of times and then you just get a bit comfortable and forget about your parameters. So it's important to have parameters, but also we never thought that was going to happen, and it did. And if you're on the edge where I know loads of people that go to a course, spend 20 grand on a course, which is nothing wrong with it as long as you've got that money, and then they go and do a refurb and then they have to use credit cards to finish it off. If you've done that and something bad happens out of your control, you're stuffed. Like, you're in big trouble.
Yeah.
So the moral of that story isn't don't invest in the north.
Be prepared.
Because there's nothing wrong with the north.
No, I love the north. We've still got properties in the northeast.
Where's from?
Oh, it's good.
Manchester. But no, exactly what you said, I think.
I won't say where that property was, but it wasn't in our patch. It was like, we'll go over here because it's cheap. We completely took our eye off the ball, got excited, and then explosion happened. But loads of things happen like that. You invest out of the area, and for some reason, when you're a southerner going into Northern Territory, some people think you've got loads of money. So you turn up on site and everyone thinks you've got money. So then they start slipping off. No, but like people, we've had pictures of literally had pictures of kitchens in a property fitted, asking for payment, and they're not ours. Yeah. I've had it with an extension. Won't go down that.
Yeah.
It's not a bad
You're
scam,
not
that.
on site to see it with your own eyes.
So this is actually another thing that like lenders can really help on. So when you're doing a refurb loan, obviously we have to get a monitoring surveyor. So we was doing a HMO in Portsmouth, and the contractor who was doing the work was doing a 3 to 7 bed HMO in Article 4. So we'd gone through quite a lot to get the six bed planning, then sui generis. And we had to do a side extension and rear extension. We'd done the rear extension and then we was doing the side extension. So we'd paid him for the steels and it was on us to like keep paying. The lender wasn't allowing us to draw it down because you had to do it in advance, but his cash flow was tight. So we'd paid for that for the steels and that work. And he was like, yeah, it's like the roof's going on, I think it was, on the side extension. The monitoring surveyor went to site from the lender. And he was like, why are you drawing for a side extension? I was like, oh, because we've done the side extension. He's like, have you been to site? I was like, no, not for I'd just come back from holiday. And he was like, well, there's nothing here. And he sent me a picture and there was no footings dug. There's nothing.
Has he done a side extension in his own house?
So bad.
Probably. That's probably
what
where
it was, yeah.
But he was doing loads in that area. So to get a picture of a side extension, you say, look, see, it's done. Yeah. But everyone, like loads of, now I know a lot of the clients he was working with were like 2 hours away. So that was Portsmouth, two and a bit hours from here. So we was like in the northeast, you have these problems that contractors or builders are doing this, and you have to drive to like Sunderland to make sure that the kitchen's going in. We do it a bit closer to home, bit like an area that may have more capital appreciation, and then we had exactly the same problem. And that was because of our controls. Like we wasn't monitoring it as we should have. We used people that we shouldn't. Like if we collaborated with local people and it was just a bit more mindful of that. I think that's it. It comes down to collaboration rather than just trying to get the cheapest price from a builder, trying to try and juggle all the time. I think it's important. And loads of people don't want to collaborate because they don't want to give anything away.
Yeah, definitely. I think something quite important that you said there as well about how lenders can help with that whole refurb stuff.
Yeah.
I know you've had it quite a lot as well, Chris, with like the HMOs and the refurbs that we do on those, where the lenders, I guess, like they monitor the drawdowns as
Absolutely,
well.
yeah. Because, you'll get some clients that will be expecting a drawdown even when they've not spent near enough the amount of money that they need to for that drawdown.
Yeah.
Or, that they've done the work but not got any invoices, or they've got mates to do them and things like that. But having the monitoring surveyors in place is an important factor, just because it keeps the project on the go, and ensures
it protects you as well, right?
It protects the client. It protects the client from you getting, to month 9 and you're nowhere near completing the project. As soon as the lender gets a sniff that you're really far behind, they start putting on the pressure. But that's a good thing, because they're putting on the pressure for the right reasons. Because no lender wants a client to default. And some lenders do have really harsh penalties for defaulting on a bridge or development finance.
And we've had it as well where like we've got lenders that are like, so long as you're communicating, so long as like they see that you're doing the work, but maybe you need an extra 10, 20 grand, like they'll work with you to be able to finish that project.
But they will.
So again, like you've got, to me, it's almost like if you've got the money or not, to have a lender there to kind of safeguard you through the refurb process is actually a good thing.
100%. And as long as you've, like, they're going to give you more money towards the work, as long as you're at the point where you've increased the value of the asset. If you've taken it back to brick, you've actually probably brought the value down. So, I mean, at that point, you'd expect them to be fairly early in the project. But yes, certainly, if you get to like month 6 or 7 and you're at a position where you've added more value to that property, whether it's via an extension or the various works that you've done, then if it's run over budget, then there's plenty of lenders out there that will give you that little bit more because you've increased the GDVs, etc.
This is a weird conversation, this, because we moan about monitoring surveyors quite a lot because they often kill deals. But actually, when you're going through that purchase process, obviously, as you said, monitoring surveyor will keep, sometimes frustratingly, but they can keep the project on track, knowing what work's been done. But when you're buying it, if someone's saying the build cost is 150 grand and there's no contingency, or the monitoring surveyor thinks it's going to be 175, having that 175, although it's painful on the front end, means that if it does cost 175, you've actually got it in the pot to draw. And we've also had it in situations where after that position, after you've convinced yourself the monitoring surveyor is really wrong and you're never going to draw that figure, you end up drawing it and it saves your backside. But also, as the project's progressing, so many, this is not slagging off builders or contractors, but so many have got a different agenda. Like if they think if they hit a certain milestone, they're going to get paid. But if it's collaboratively like discussed, builder, IMS, bank, we're only going to be able to draw down what work's been done. The quality of work is usually a bit better, rather than going, all right, you're going to, Mr. Builder's saying I'm going to get paid once the insulation's in, but then put in like one bit of plasterboard on insulation and it's just in, and then they're trying to draw for it. The monitoring surveyor would just say, no, the job's like 70% complete. And then that emphasis from the monitoring surveyor and the bank will then put a bit of the onus back on the contractor, and the contractor knows they're only going to get paid when that work is complete. I don't fully agree with that process, but from a developer's perspective, it does protect them a little bit, as you said. I think it's quite important, because we all moan about monitoring surveyors. So I was trying to be a bit more positive, but
yeah, like you say, it's only because obviously it can kill deals, right? If the build cost goes too high, it reduces the day one for the client, and the client says, well, I haven't got enough money. Which is then sometimes also worrying in itself if the client's literally got their deposit.
That's it. And at least like you're going through all of that stuff day one. Like at that point, they've not put any money down. They've not bought anything. They've not got themselves into that hole where they're going to need credit cards to get themselves out, or like kind of obviously lose their security or anything like that. So I guess that's it, almost like safeguarding them at this end of it. I imagine you've had it quite a lot with like the bigger developments and stuff that you guys do. Like, imagine if something like that happened on one of yours and lost everything.
We've done like, silly things like.
I think if you overrun most projects?
Not most.
Like some of the projects? Only because from my perspective, like even a lot of my clients that do, I don't know, just normal refurbs or even HMOs, I feel like most of them overrun on their original build cost.
I think it depends. Like from a developer's perspective, when you're really eager to get a deal done, you think you're going to get it done in, let's say, 10 months. But usually, like we've had it with lenders where they've said, we're going to do this, we're going to do a longer term. So we've been in a situation where we maybe haven't hit our optimistic expectations, but we haven't breached the lender's expectations. Naturally, like we've done deals where we've tried to enhance planning partway through, and we've gone over term in that sense because planning's out of your hand. We have done it once with a silly situation, not adding a contingency in, and the lender allowed us to do it. That's mental, because when you do overrun, you're in a really tight situation, and it's not cool. So yeah, we've definitely had, I think on development, even on conversions, even on HMOs, to not have a contingency because you're trying to make your day one at a level that you feel comfortable with, or you've got your head around, is bonkers. I just think, although I'm not hoping that monitoring surveyors keep doing that, and then we have to say to clients, you've got to put more money in. But if you haven't got that buffer, it's massive. It's such a problem. So yeah, so much can happen. But in answer to your question, overrunning on time and cost is so easy. And especially once, I think that's one thing that we've definitely, it sounds mad because we do this as a job, but like on our own projects, taking our eye off the ball with, is not keeping a close tally on what the lender's interest is accruing at. So like if you've got £1 million in your build budget, at the start, you're not paying much interest on it because you haven't drawn much. But month one, you take 100, month two, 100. And then by the end, you're at $1 million drawn, which you're paying, let's say, 1% a month on. That, if you're delayed when you're fully drawn down, or your sales, you haven't marketed early enough and you're waiting for buyers, or, all of that stuff, you could be in a position where you're burning tens and tens and tens of thousands of pounds. And that could be the difference between you making a profit or not.
Yeah. Like, we've seen it on the back end as well. Like, it's so weird how this world works, but like, because of the off-plan stuff, where we're working really closely with developers that are selling their units off-plan whilst they're building them. And so many times, I mean, we were working with great developers that had done various projects across the UK. But even those guys, they'd get to a point where it's like, right, like, we're going to have to knock off 20% discount. We'll make up a reason for it, but the developer needs the money by kind of 2 months' time, otherwise their finance runs out. And like, seeing it from this side, it's like, okay, fine, we're just kind of giving a discount for discount's sake. But now understanding actually the pain points of a developer 100%. Having to finish that project, otherwise they're going to get hit with the interest. It's mental. Like, they have to finish the project.
Yeah, because go on.
What I was going to say is, from your side, being in that seat, and like you was obviously dealing with buyers and probably frustrated with developers, but now you've also done your own refurb projects as well. With this, we all have the same issues. How do you is there more sympathy? Like, Because like a lot of agents do get frustrated. Like, we want to get paid. Why haven't you done this? Why haven't you done that? But not seeing behind the curtain is sometimes, now you've seen both sides and you're in it one side. Like, it's quite stressful.
It's the pressure.
Yeah.
I now see the pressure a lot clearer on developers and timelines.
Whereas before you would have had to have broken some news.
I didn't care about the developer before. All I cared about was my investor and making sure. And every time there was a delay from the developer, I'd be like,
it's always like, oh, what's
sorry,
what's
Mr. Investor.
now?
There's
like,
or the developer would send a letter out to all the investors, and then you get 30, 40 phone calls. What's happened? Why is it delayed? And then I'd be on the phone going, what's the developer doing? We're never going to work with them again. But I understand a lot clearer now of the things that can go wrong and the pressures. And if they haven't sold enough, they then need to discount the properties, which is then going to affect their overall profits. It's probably a big decision in itself. But then they're obviously having to get the volume of sales up because they used to take a certain percentage on exchange, which they'd use to fund the build. And if they run out of money from their loan as well as the sales, they've got to take drastic measures, and one of those, like you mentioned, was doing a discount. But that's a big decision because you're sitting into your profit. And
I've had it before with a developer, like quite a big developer actually in Manchester, who actually lost the site midway through was selling it. So we then had to resell all of those units to new buyers under a new developer. Like, it was absolutely crazy. But like, with the way that we were kind of formed in the setup, we'd have developers come in, we'd like go and meet them, like, we'd sit there with the MD and like a few of the core team would sit around the table and like, right, like what's happening, what's like especially when they've got into shit. It's like, right, we'll give you like a 10% like bonus or whatever it might be, to be able to sell those units. So I guess in a way it's like you're still sympathetic to it, but it's a means to an end, because you're only going to get paid once your investors are sorted. Whereas you definitely see it from the other side now.
Weird psychology shift.
This introduction to Bridgemore Capital and its employers has gone off on a tangent, isn't it?
I feel like we just sat here having a chat. I love how Murph's got he's so entertained, he's asleep on the sofa.
He's a good boy.
So chilled, love development.
Well, that was our first introduction to Finance and Foundations with the Bridgemore team. A lot of tangents went on, but hopefully there was some good content for everyone in there. Join us next time. Thanks very much.